Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing another season preview for the upcoming 25-26 NHL season, and I wanted to shift back east for this preview, so we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins are in a weird spot right now, and a spot that they have not been in a very long time. They're just kind of dead in a sense. Like they're struggling. They've been struggling, and a lot of their good players are getting older, and it feels over in a lot of ways. But I wonder if there's a chance, because obviously right now all indications that a lot of these guys are going to get moved. Malkin, Rust, Raquel. There's conversation about Carlson, but Carlson is a very difficult contract to move, even even with the cap going up. It's still not an easy contract to move. There's conversation about Sidney Crosby getting traded. There's no untouchables anymore with this team, which is it's weird to see as someone who has seen this team win multiple Stanley Cups, go to Stanley Cup finals, just be competitive every year, and now to kind of see them just not even close to that. And it's so bizarre because looking at their roster, I got their roster pulled up from Puckpedia. You look at you're like, okay, you could see where the holes are, but you still have Crosby, you still have Malkin, you still have Rust and Raquel. You haven't traded these guys yet. Your bottom six, is it perfect? No, but Anthony Manta's in there, Kevin Hayes, Noel Chari's in there. There's some players here. There's some players. It's not perfect by any means, but there's some players on defense. Graves, Letang, Carlson kind of weakens after that, but it's not like abysmal. It's not good. It's not really. But if Letang and Carlson can play like Letang and Carlson can play, and granted, can they? I don't know. Letang's 38 and Carlson is 35, and then I mean they're forward. Crosby's 37 and Malkin's 39. I mean, what are we getting out of these guys? Can they give you enough to get into the play? I think they could give you enough to get into playoffs. I'm not saying win a Stanley Cup, but these are still good players. Crosby's elite still. He's extremely elite. And Malkin did all right last year. He's definitely slowed down, but still got 60-something points last year, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check real quick for you guys. He had 50 points last year. Okay. Made a mistake. I thought he had 60. Still, okay. He played 68 games, 50 points. So that's about a 60-point pace in a full season. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. It's okay. And maybe, I don't know. Some of these guys, as they get older, you think Malkin's play style, I would say, probably is not conducive to him having like a renaissance season at 39, but he's still really, like, the talent doesn't go anywhere. I mean, age catches up to everybody, but the way some of these athletes are in this day and age, I would not be surprised if Malkin came out next year, had 65, 70 points and did fine. Great. Can he have another 40, 50 point year? Yeah, maybe. It's probably more likely, but maybe he does have a good season next year. And like that's the thing. Like that. All indications are this team, everybody's getting sold. Like, that's it. Everybody's gone. But what if they start off the season on a decent... it's not like the Metropolitan is that strong. Washington had a really good year. Is Washington going to have another really good year? I don't think so. I don't. I understand they did great last year, defied expectations, but... to me, they're not like... I think they're going to regress this year. I think they're gonna pull back to the where you would think Washington would be, like maybe 90, 95 points. They could get into the playoffs, but I don't think Washington's like this dominant juggernaut team. Like, they had a really good season. They have a good team. They're not a bad team. I don't think they'll miss the playoffs, but I think this like the reason I said 90, 95, because people will be like, oh, that sounds a little bit low. That sounds borderline. That might be all it takes to get in the Metro this year. Like, the Metro does not look that strong this year at all. Get Carolina, you got Carolina, Jersey, and then the rest. Right, I mean, I have no expect. I'm a Ranger fan, and I have no expectation of the Rangers having this monster bounce back. They don't have a good roster. The Islanders are they? I mean, they'll be okay, but I mean, they just they just won the draft lottery. Like they're not really in this position to have like a monster bounce back season either. The Flyers. The Flyers are the Flyers. I mean, I'd hope that they'd have some progression this year. I'd like to see the Flyers have some progression this year, but I don't know if they will. Columbus could have a decent year, but I wouldn't be surprised if Columbus struggled. I mean, unfortunately, they didn't really have the opportunity to change too much in the off season, and they'll be a competitive team, but I don't know if they're a team that it can necessarily get in the playoffs yet. I think they're building towards it. I think they have a lot of good pieces, but we'll get to all these teams. Obviously, the ones that I haven't talked. I've talked about the Rangers, but I haven't talked about the rest of these guys. Who else am I missing from the Metro? Am I missing anybody? We got Carolina. Is that everybody? I feel like I'm missing one Metro team. What Metro team am I missing? That might be everybody. But point being, the Devils, I didn't mention it, but the Devils and the Hurricanes, I think, are clearly the two teams that will. There's no reason that they. Yeah, okay, I did get everybody. There's no reason that the Devils and Canes should not be in the top. I think the top two. I'm more convinced on the Devils and the Canes being in the top two than Washington. And then if you think of it like that, it's like, okay. Are you really telling me that any of those teams that I just talked about, besides the Devils and the Hurricanes, are miles ahead of the Penguins? Like miles ahead, to the point of like the Penguins will have there's no chance that the Penguins can be close. No, I don't think so. I think the Penguins can absolutely be in the mix. Even with this roster that's getting older, even with the struggles that they've had, I really think that Pittsburgh maybe, not definitely, I'm not guaranteeing, they probably miss. I'll say that, but I say that in terms of the playoffs, they probably miss the playoffs. So that will be my prediction, that Pittsburgh will miss the playoffs, but I would not be surprised if they're in the mix. And that's going to make, it's going to kind of be like last trade deadline, where you had a lot of teams that were very close in terms of the just points. They're right there, and then it kind of, after the deadline, things changed and the separation grew, and that was kind of it. But at the deadline, you had a lot of teams that were in the hunt, and I don't see any reason why this year is going to be any different. Again, it's not like any of the, at least in terms of the Metro, I mean, forget the wild card, the Metro, the Metro's wide open. There's no clear cut. There's 1 and 2, which to me is Carolina, Jersey, and people will argue Washington, but I don't. I think we really saw Washington's ability in that Carolina series. They beat Montreal, but even Montreal gave them a fight. Like, I get it, Washington 1 and 5, but if you watch that series, there were times that Montreal was in it. Like, they were in that series. It was if you just look back at the games and the score of the series, that does not tell the actual story of how the games were played, how they felt. Montreal felt like they were right there a lot of the time, and that to me is more. It's great for Montreal, because that tells me that Montreal is definitely heading in the right direction, and they're gonna be a good team. But it's really also kind of showing that Washington, yeah, they won the President's Trophy, and they had a good year, and Ovi, broke the record, which is great, and I love that. But in terms of, is Washington this competitive team moving forward that is going to be competing for Stanley Cups in the near future? I don't think so. That's just my opinion. But anyway, kind of going all over the place. Just to say that Pittsburgh has room to make the playoffs, which is crazy, because you think of it now, you're like, there's no way this team is going to make the playoffs. There's no reason this team should make the playoffs or be anywhere near the playoffs. But they might be. And then what? Do they still get rid of her? If this team is in the 3rd spot in the Metropolitan by the trade deadline and they're doing okay, Do they trade Rustin, Raquel, and Malkin and try to trade Crosby and Carlson and all the? Do they try? I don't think so. But then what? Right? Then what? None of these guys are traded yet, and I think that's kind of showing you that there's this hope. At least this is my opinion, that there's this hope from Penguins management, Dubas, and all that this team will figure it out enough to get them in the playoffs. There's a hope, and that's why they haven't done anything yet, right? Because they could have. I mean, we're in August now, right? It's not like they can't. There's something that, excuse me. It's not like there's something that's keeping that. Like they could have tried to make a move or something. They haven't done it yet. They're waiting. How long are they gonna wait? I don't know. I really think that this team it's not that far away from getting into the play. I'm not saying competing, because I think once they get in, run into Florida, and this team is not beating Florida. This team's not any real contender. This team doesn't have a chance. But yeah, this team can make it in the Metro. Why not? I honestly, again, Ranger fan here. This team, I think, I take them over the Rangers. But there's just like feeling with the Rangers, like, oh, the Rangers are going to get back in, I take this team over the Rangers. What? Okay, they're older. All right, fine. It's not like the Rangers have a lot. The Rangers have some young pieces, but who are the Rangers' star players? Guys that are also in their 30s. Granted, lower end of the 30s, but Malkin and Crosby, it's hard to bet against Malkin and Crosby. I don't care how old they are. It's hard to bet against them. And I think that's always been the feeling with Pittsburgh. It's like nobody believes that Pittsburgh is that far away ever, because they have these two players. And also, I mean, yeah, Letang and Carlson. Carlson has all these flaws, whatever, fine, but he's still Erik Karlsson. And when he's at his best, and when he's producing, and when he's getting points and goals, it's everything, and he's high flying. There's something here that can get a team into the playoffs. Again, and look at Washington from a couple of years, not Washington from last year, Washington from the year before when the Rangers won the President's Trophy and beat them in the first round. That Washington team had no business getting into the play. They got in. They took a wild card spot. So it's like there's always a chance for a team that really doesn't have any business being anywhere near the playoffs to squeak in. And to me, that third Metropolitan spot right now is absolutely up for grabs. Absolutely up for grabs for everybody in the division. Everybody. Literally everybody. Like that, there's nothing to me that's just like that. Because you look at the Atlantic Division. Sorry, I freaking brain freeze there. You look at the Atlantic Division, and you look at, okay, who's gonna be the top three immediately? Tampa, Florida, and Toronto. Right? That should be the top three, whatever order it ends up being. But those should be the top three teams. Obviously, there can be maybe Toronto falls back, maybe Tampa falls back a little bit, and I don't know, Montreal or Ottawa gets in there. Maybe Detroit has a better year. I'm not going to say Buffalo because Buffalo. But, and I mean, some people are going to try to say that Boston will. I don't think Boston's going to be near the playoffs. I don't know. I don't think that Boston has done enough to convince, at least me personally, that they're going to be back in the mix. But there's this clear three teams in the Atlantic that you look at in terms of Toronto, Tampa, and Florida. You're like, these teams will be in the mix in whatever shape and fashion. Maybe one of them falls into the wild card, but these are three teams that we know are there, for sure. I don't feel that same way about the Metropolitan at all. And that's why I think a team like Pittsburgh, that a lot of people are going to count out, especially because of the feeling and okay, guys are going to get traded, guys are leaving. Listen, these are still competitive players. These are still guys that you look, they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose again. They want to get in the play. They don't care. That's why Crosby's staying. All right. I mean, I think Crosby might leave at some point, but if he's really serious about just wanting to finish his career out as a Penguin, and he genuinely believes that his team could still win a Stanley Cup because he's Crosby, and he's like, I don't care who's around me. Let's go try to win a cup. As flawed as that thinking may be from an outsider's perspective, that's just what a lot of these athletes think. They're like, yeah, well, why not? Why not us? Why can't we do it? Right? So that alone might be enough to get this team to win some games early on in the season that maybe they don't have business winning, and then it turns into a little streak, and they win a few games in a row, and then all of a sudden Pittsburgh's doing okay, and then they go into Thanksgiving and they're in a playoff spot. Oh, look at that, they're in a play, and then it just continues to build, and they make the playoffs. It's not impossible with this team. Is it likely? I don't think. I think somebody else may. Like, to me, it'll probably be a dogfight. Will the Rangers maybe be in the mix? Will they maybe fight? Yeah, probably. But to me, I think Columbus will probably make another push. I think Columbus has enough in terms of, like, they're missing true superstar level talent. Like, they need, unfortunately, obviously, with the tragedy of Johnny Gaudreau, it's just, it sucks. But they need to find a player that can, eventually bring what Johnny Gaudreau is bringing to them. And then they don't have that, right? In my opinion, they don't have that right now. And but with that being said, I think Columbus has enough of the young people. And granted, you got Fantilli there, you got Marchenko had a good, like, they had young guys that played pretty well last year, which is why I think maybe they'll take that third spot. I'm not super convinced because, again, they to me, they're missing something. They're missing something, and maybe they can make it without that something. It happens. I would bet more on Columbus making it than Pittsburgh, which is why I'd say Pittsburgh just might miss. So I won't say that they'll make, like, I'm not going to predict that Pittsburgh's going to make the playoffs. But if you tell me by the end of the year that Pittsburgh made it, I'm not going to look at you and be like, that's insane. How did this team make it? I can see it now, even when it doesn't look like it makes any sense. When it's just like there's no way, just the results, everything, it doesn't make. When you have superstar talent, I don't care how old they are, they can get you in at least to the playoffs. I'm not saying far in the playoffs. They could easily get swept in the first round, but they can get you in the playoffs. That's what I think. I'm not going to say that they will. So my prediction for the Penguins is that they will miss, but I think they're going to be competitive, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made it. But that's it for this one. I'd love to know what you guys think about the Penguins. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.